Hi, y'alls. Some of you may have just come from the Hayden Panettiere video live that I did. Just wanted to end that because that's a completely different topic than um, discussing the new post that Justin Baldoni put up with Emily on Instagram. And so just going to take a moment to look at that. Hey, Christina, welcome back as well. Thank you for rejoining me. Hey, Kenny. So, I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to see the post. Right now, it has 31.6K likes. I don't know how many comments. And I don't know if there's any music on this. Yeah, it does. So I'm not going to put it on because I never know if that has copyright. The Red Woman 6631 said, I thought you left Bocce. I did. I left so I could start this new one to discuss the Justin Baldoni latest post. So we have here's Justin with their assuming his kid. Andy Signor says she looks like someone's version of Lily Bloom in slide 3. And this is slide 3. I mean, at least I would say this. She's multi-layered for a purpose. It's cold where they're at. I mean, she's walking like this with a reason. So I just want to be clear about that. And let's see what she says.
Visible. Let me see your socks.
This way. Socks are terrible.
Tell me about your fashion. Give me a fashion show.
Like a monk penguin. It's all about the layers and showing every layer off. Make them all visible.
Let me see your socks.
This way. Socks are terrible.
Okay. That's gorgeous. Is this one's Iceland, right? I'm fairly sure this one's Iceland because he hashtagged it Iceland and Sweden. But I feel like this would be Iceland, but I don't know. I've never been to Iceland or Sweden, but it's gorgeous. Christina said layers, you say. I don't think Red Woman 6631, you said she's trolling Blake. I don't think she's trolling Blake. I literally think she's cold. I think it's she's very cold and she has to layer a lot to not be cold. Hi, Elisa. Hello again. My word, this picture makes her look like she's a giant. It makes her look so tall. Like that's a very like poetic like picture, but it also like it makes her look so tall. Is that just me? I don't know how tall Emily is, but the way she layered does make her look like way taller. Kenny said, I think she's just quirky. Well, speaking about quirky, I would think so, maybe. I'm assuming this is Emily. That's one way to get some sleep in. I get it because the sun is like if you're trying to get sleep and the sun is like beaming right straight at your face. Hi, Freckles for Days. There she is sticking out her tongue. I'm assuming this now there is this I still don't know because I've never been to either place. I don't know where's where. Okay, he covered his kids' faces here. Now, I mean, it's interesting because in the past he has had, but he has shared their faces, but maybe it's because of everything that's gone down. He wants to make sure. Freckles for Days said, I saw your last video and wanted to make sure to say thank you for being vulnerable with us and for sharing your feelings and time. Thanks, Freckle for Days. I will be honest and say that I genuinely did not know I was going to start crying. I don't even know fully like why a wave of emotion came over me. But it's very, very sad. The loss of Hayden Panettiere. That looks fun. All right. So some family photos. So let's see some comments to see what people said. So I already read what Andy wrote. This person said monk penguin with laughing emojis. Another said amazing. I went to see Andy Grammer in concert last night and had the M&G Q&A. A fan asked for the inspiration behind Don't Give Up on Me. Andy got to talk about you and 5 Feet Apart. I wanted to be like Team Justin, but didn't think it was the appropriate setting. Love seeing you living this beautiful moments with your beautiful wife. Another said, thanks for sharing your trip with us. Looks beautiful. And Emily absolutely was giving penguin, but a beautiful penguin. Another said, Emily Baldoni, extremely fashionable cold weather attitude is honestly goals. Cold, maybe. Underdressed, never. Love you guys. Kenny said, those don't both look like children. Really? I think they still look like children. Because that looks very much like her kids that's the kid's hair. And just the way she's hugging them is very mother. Freckles for Day says, I love this family's joy. Why be hateful when you can do all this? Yeah. And Christina said 100, 100, 100. Kenny said they seem way bigger. I guess they grow fast. Yeah, they are definitely bigger. But they did grow fast. The Red Woman 6631 said, meanwhile, Ryan deleted every trace of his wife from his IG. She only gets stories that disappear in 24 hours. He did? He deleted her and everything? I didn't realize that. Said, I'm always so happy whenever I see a post from you. You have no idea how much joy it brings to my heart. You truly made my Sunday so much happier. Sending you a big warm hug all the way from Brazil. Much love from Iceland. I hope you got to experience the eclipse because it was very cloudy and I don't know how to say that. And another said, that perfectly be me could be on the airplane. That perfectly be me. Oh, maybe the perfectly could be me on the airplane. I don't know. Lots of love for Baldoni's family. You deserve all the peace, all the love, and all the credit for the movie. You worked so hard. You are a legend now, and I say this considering me as a feminist. And another one said, so in the time you've been off social media, Justin, you can now post with multiple picture aspects and put horizontal and vertical pics in the same post without them being cropped at all. Another said, forever on your side, Justin. Now that is how you layer for purchase. For purchase? Or for purpose? I don't know. Made those layers work. Teresa. Oh, this is Teresa. I don't know who that guy Kramer is, but she tagged that guy Kramer, said, you totally started a trend, run away to Iceland. Oh, I guess that's what the trend is, to run away to Iceland. I would love to go to Iceland, to be honest. Like, I've always thought it would be cool. Favorite couple, getting some well-deserved quality time with the family. Justin and Emily, your babies are getting so big. As a parent, I know that's bittersweet. Beautiful family. Happy that you're once again sharing with us. Thank you, and keep your head up always. Keep your head up. Oh, it repeats again. Oh. Okay, there's some new ones here. I bet RR has looked at this post 200 times already. I saw you and Emily at Lagurus Lagoon. You were so nice to offer to take a picture for another family. So good to see the notifications. Welcome back online, King of Hearts. Oh, this is Cassidy says, I love the way she makes you laugh. She's your perfect match. Blake Livelyware. So funny. Get it? Baldoni supporter. She's so it. 5 stars. I don't get it. I'm not sure what that means. You are a precious man and your family will remain lovely, protected, and blessed. One of my fave songs. Happy to see you guys truly happy. So happy to see you on my feed. Big love to you both and your family. Is that Umami? Like our Umami? Kiara said we will probably see some similar poses now on RR's page or in a movie. Next thing you know, he's filming in Iceland. No, just kidding. And that's how you layer with style. This is being rich in life. Absolutely beautiful couple inside and out. Much love to you, Justin Baldoni, and your family. Warms my heart to see you back on social media. Can't wait for you to tell your story in your own words. Looks beautiful. Great place to reset. Keep living your best life, Justin. We support you. Gorgeous pics. Absolutely beautiful. Emily, beautiful. Happy to see you happy. Respect you for your power, and I wish you never give up. Fave couple alert. Love you both. Okay, but net forever. Okay, put the end me laughing. I'm not sure what that means. Keep living your best life. I smile every time you post. Just living and loving his family is the greatest win in all lifetimes. Low cortisol photo. I was just thinking we need some Baldoni plural whole family sightings, more fashion shows and big smiles, and in an eclipse across the world. We love you, Justin, and we most certainly love and admire Emily. What a beautiful family. Oh, yay. I'm so happy to see you happy, and I love the fashion show. It's so great to see you guys again. We've missed your posts. Love seeing you living life in the beauty of your family and nature. You deserve all the happiness and peace. Wishing you much peace and happiness and family time. Love seeing you living life and unbothered. Much love from... Oh, wait, no, I read that one. A way for the universe to remind us of what is truly real and that everything else we think is important is just an illusion. This one says, beautiful families, see them happy and enjoying themselves, pure souls. Iceland, one of my favorite countries in the world. I mean, how many people have been to Iceland? I want to go to Iceland one day, for sure. Iceland is amazing. Emily, I love your style. I love Emily's speaking voice. Very soothing. Still better than Blake's red carpet. Team Justin forever. Can't wait to go see your next project. Just Khaleesi said, if you'd like them, Bocce, you can keep track of the comments you've seen. Oh, I can tell which comments I've read, though, because I can still remember it. I mean, if I even start like a few words in, I'm like, oh, I've read that already. Yeah, definitely needed some good news. That Hayden Panettiere news was so sad to hear. You have a beautiful wife and family. Enjoy them. Enjoying the beautiful family time. Baldonis bring a smile to my face. What beautiful people inside and out. Our favorite couple. Love this family. Beautiful. Great to see you back. It's Giving Monk, Penguin, and we're here for it. My favorite couple. May God continue to bless and keep you in his loving embrace. I love their love. Beautiful people, my heart. That's not you, Khaleesi, is it? The one that says, another says blessings. That's amo. I mean, that's what I know. That has to be I love. Is it I love or something? Something. Yeah, so glad to see them well. Blessings. Okay, so pretty much, we haven't seen a positive. I mean, a negative statement yet. If we have seen a negative statement, there have been ones that I didn't understand to be negative. There was at least two comments that I wasn't sure what they were trying to say. I think they were still positive, but I don't know. I thought I love you was like te amo. So I wasn't sure with less amo. Hot Mics with Billy Bush says, good to see you guys having a blast. Notice how Justin doesn't have to turn off the comment section. Another said, you are the winner, seeing all these amazing messages. I mean, there's just so many messages. Obviously, folks can. Oh, it's plural. Okay, that's good to know. Hi, Kiara. Okay. Oh, well, that's the Justin news there. Is there anything else? Is there anything else really? I'm not sure. I know I've had two short lives, like definitely short for me. But I'm like, is there anything else? I guess we could check what's coming up in searches, just to see the temperature. Okay. Kiara says, I am impatiently waiting for any updates on any lawsuit out there. Carol said there's deadlines tomorrow. Go to Docket updates calendar. Okay, let me go to Docket updates calendar. So tomorrow there is deadline for expert depositions, and also deadline for parties to reply to Judge Lyman about motions to seal, and that's for Jones versus Abel. So those are the two that's coming up. I do want to read this article about Alexa Nikolas. Alexa Nikolas wins key ruling in defamation case against Bryan Freedman over smear claims. It's weird to say. I had been there. I've seen this place in real life, officially. The background behind him. Justin Baldoni's lawyer and crisis publicist Melissa Nathan are implicated in the creation of smear websites, a court finds. Kiara said, I have to tell you, Carol, about a week ago, I had a dream about Bryan Freedman, and the only thing I remember is asking him if he knew Docket updates. LOL. Okay. Months after a resolution to the sprawling legal battle over the filming It Ends With Us, Hollywood power lawyer Bryan Freedman is still dealing with fallout from the case. Zoe 101 alum Alexa Nikolas won a key ruling on Wednesday in a defamation lawsuit against Freedman. with the court finding that she's established a probability of prevailing on defamation claims, accusing him and those in his orbit of marshaling a smear campaign against her. Now, do I trust the Hollywood Reporter? Probably not. Who wrote this? Oh, well, I don't know. I need to read this for myself, though. Does anybody have access to this decision? Because I would like to read it. Nikolas, founder of advocacy organization Eat Predators, has a long and contentious history with Freedman, who had represented her ex-husband, Michael Milosh, when she sued the musician for SA. She had organized protests outside of his offices in 2022 after discovering that he had also been accused of SA in a case that resulted in a no-fault settlement in 1991. Around the time of these protests, a smear site that aimed to undermine her activism, including through assertions that her current husband was a predator, popped up about her. Nikolas didn't connect Freedman to the site until Lively sued It Ends With Us director Justin Baldoni and his production company Wayfarer. The thrust of Lively's lawsuit focused on alleged SH on the set of the film, but it also accused Baldoni and his public relations team, led by top crisis publicist Melissa Nathan and digital fixer Jed Wallace, of spawning a smear machine that threatened her reputation. This led to sister lawsuits, including one from publicist Stephanie Jones. It didn't spawn. It didn't. I mean, I'm sorry. It didn't lead to that lawsuit. Stephanie Jones sued first. I mean, if you're talking about technically who sued first, Stephanie Jones sued first. She sued like on, I think like the 24th or something. I forget exactly when Stephanie Jones sued. And Blake Lively didn't sue until the 31st. This led to sister lawsuits, including one from publicist Stephanie Jones. I guess they said sister. So that doesn't have to mean it came before. I mean, came after. Never mind. Okay, sorry. I get too lost in my brain sometimes. Hi, Gloria. This led to sister lawsuits, including one from publicist Stephanie Jones, who claimed that Nathan and Wallace have long engaged in creating smear sites targeting women. That gave Nikolas the ammunition to file a lawsuit, which points to alleged data identifying Freedman as involved in the generation of some of the sites. In Wednesday's ruling, Los Angeles Supreme Court Judge Michael Whitaker rebuffed Freedman's bid to dismiss the case. He concluded that Nikolas had produced enough evidence to potentially prove the alleged campaign was defamatory. Among the findings, Nikolas sufficiently demonstrated a probability of proving the allegedly defamatory statements were untrue. This includes a claim on a second smear site about her that she partnered with former California Senator Joe Dunn to push others into making false accusations of SA. Whitaker also pointed to court records across multiple cases in which several plaintiffs described a similar modus operandi and common website traffic optimization tactics. Freedman had argued that Nikolas can't prove the assertions advanced in the sites were false and that some were simply statements of opinion which can't give rise to a defamation claim. On this front, the court said that the allegations in the site all imply provably false assertions of fact that Nikolas is either a criminal who has committed criminal acts or she is not. Multiple smear sites identified in the case between Jones and Baldoni appear to have evidence of common authorship. Oh, my word. If you use the word authorship, oh, my word. Including AlexaNicholas.net, which claims she extorted multiple ex-boyfriends by threatening them with manufacturing SA claims, among other things. In Jones's case, a cybersecurity expert submitted an expert report indicating that those who created the site about Nikolas may have also created ones about Amanda Ghost, who's engaged in a defamation battle against Rebel Wilson. There is a tangled web of connections between these sites and numerous others, in addition to that authored about plaintiff. Whitaker wrote, noting a conspiracy to smear various individuals who had adversarial connections to Freedman's clients. That not only suggests a motive, the court found, but also indicates that the lawyer may have been involved in directing or otherwise effectuating all of those alleged smear campaigns. Earlier this year, Wilson's crisis public relations team, comprised of Nathan and Wallace, was heard discussing plans to create anonymous sites that accuse Ghost of sex trafficking as part of an alleged smear campaign solicited by the actress against the Deb producer. In a recording obtained by the Hollywood Reporter, Wallace instructed Nathan to assert without evidence that Ghost is a madam whose work involves procuring young women for wealthy and powerful men. We can't just do like, oh, she sucks. Wallace says in the recording, it's like it's got to be really, really heavy and connected to something that heavy. At one point in the conversation, Wallace referenced the involvement of Freedman, Wilson's then counsel in the case. Freedman and Nathan didn't respond to requests for comment, though they've previously denied involvement in the creation of the smear sites. Interesting how they only looked or reached out to Freedman and Nathan for comments, but not for Wallace. So interesting. Anybody know how to get that document? Is there anywhere that Alexa Nikolas decision is anywhere to be found? I guess I should try Reddit first, just in case they have it. Okay, Alexa Nikolas versus Bryan Freedman, Melissa Nathan, and Jed Wallace. Freedman anti-SLAPP motion denied. Rules judge rules she has probability of prevailing. Okay, you can read the judge's ruling here. Yay! Woohoo! I love it. Oh, it's 28 pages. Dang. Okay. Hopefully it's interesting, an interesting read. Hi, Lex. Thank you for the gold coin for 10 jewels. And good night, Gloria. All right. This is the Supreme Court of California, County of Los Angeles. Alexa Nikolas versus Bryan Freedman. Judge Honorable Michael E. Whitaker. Nature of proceedings, ruling on submitted matter regarding special motion to strike anti-SLAPP. The court, having taken the matter under submission on 8/12/2026 for hearing on special motion to strike under CCP section 425.16, anti-SLAPP motion submitted by defendant Bryan Freedman, now rules as follows. This is the background. This case arises from allegations of defamation. The operative first amended complaint filed by plaintiff Alexa Nikolas against defendants Bryan Freedman and Melissa Nathan alleges two causes of action for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Freedman has now filed a special motion to strike both causes of action pursuant to a Code of Civil Procedure section 425.16. Plaintiff opposes the motion and Freedman replies. Request for judicial notice. Plaintiff's request for judicial notice. Exhibit 1. The declaration of Samuel Moniz, dated March 9, 2026. Hey, that's my birthday. Filed in the lawsuit Amanda Goes et al. Versus Rebel Wilson et al. Los Angeles Superior Court case number 24STCV17314. Exhibit 2. Excerpts from Exhibit B to the declaration of Samuel Moyes. Exhibit 1 above, deposition transcript of Catherine Case taken on May 5, 2026. Filed in the lawsuit Amanda Goes et al. Versus Rebel Wilson et al. Los Angeles Supreme Court case number 24 STCV 17314. Okay, I'm not sure I'm going to want to read every one of these exhibits, but there's an exhibit 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, 8, 9. Okay, 9 exhibits. Huh. Judicial notice may be taken of records of any court in this state, or of any court record of the United States, or of any or of any state of the United States. Okay, hold on. Okay, let me. I feel like these are all things that are just basic. One, so I want to actually get to the heart or the meat of this thing. Okay, evidentiary objections, they said. The court rules as follows with respect to Freedman's objections to the declaration of Alexa Nikolas. Even though I don't know exactly what they were, what he's referencing to, we see that the first one was overruled, offered to explain the impetus for plaintiff's research of court records, not for the truth of the matter asserted. Overruled, offered to explain plaintiff's perception, not the truth for the truth of the matter asserted. Sustained, overruled. Offered to explain plaintiff's awareness, diligent efforts to discover the identity of the poster, not the absolute truth of the matter asserted. Overruled, offered to explain plaintiff's awareness / the impetus for plaintiffs to access and download the report in question, not the truth of the matter asserted. Overruled, offered to explain plaintiff's subjective belief, not the truth of the matter asserted. Overruled, offered to explain plaintiff's subjective belief, not the truth of the matter asserted. Sustained, overruled, sustained as the word defamatory, and then overruled. The court rules as follows with respect to Freedman's objections to plaintiff's request for judicial notice. All of it sustained. Okay. Okay. I'm not fully interested in reading any of these things per se until it gets to his reasoning. Okay, so the discussion, maybe. Okay, so the discussion, the protected activity. So Code of Civil Procedure, Section 425.16, Subdivision B, prohibits a cause of action arising out of a person's right of petition or free speech in connection with a public issue unless a court determines that the plaintiff has established there is a probability that the plaintiff will prevail on the claim. Subdivision E provides, as used in the section, act in furtherance of a person's right or a petition or free speech under the United States of California Constitution in connection with a public issue. With a public issue includes any written or oral statement or writing made at a place open to the public or a public forum in connection with an issue of public interest, or any other conduct in furtherance of the exercise of the constitutional right of petition or the constitutional right of free speech in connection with a public issue or an issue of public interest. The general facts underlying plaintiff's claims are as follows. Plaintiff Alexa Nikolas is a former actress turned fierce public advocate for survivors of SA in the entertainment industry. Starting in 2022, Ms. Nikolas was the subject of a smear website and social media activity designed to discredit and defame her. It has come to light that the defendants in this case, along with Doe's 1 to 100, were behind this website and social media activity. Defendant Bryan Freedman is an attorney in Los Angeles, California, who has built his decades-long career by representing high-profile individuals. Defendant Freedman presents himself as one of the most powerful and most feared people in the media industry. Ms. Nikolas herself is a survivor of abuse. She has admirably dedicated her life and career to amplifying the voices of survivors of SA against those in the entertainment industry. Ms. Nikolas now organizes this work through her company, Eat Predators. Due to the nature of her work, she is no stranger to combating false narratives disseminated about her, including that she fabricates claims of abuse. These false narratives were published in a smear website, alexanikolas.net, that has fueled disdain against her for years. Before Eat Predators, Miss Nikolas had roles in The Walking Dead, Zoe 101, and various other television programs and movies from 1998 to 2013. Miss Nikolas had also had entered into a relationship with musical artist Michael Milosh. Unfortunately, the relationship was sexually abusive. After some time trying to heal from the same, Miss Nikolas eventually came forward with civil legal claims against her ex-husband, accusing him of SA. Miss Nikolas chose to do this in part to show other survivors that they could be brave enough to do the same. Defendant Freedman was hired to represent Miss Nikolas' ex-husband in response to her lawsuit. Miss Nikolas wanted to understand who her ex-husband's attorney was, as well as why someone who had previously represented survivors of SA would represent her ex-husband. To her disgust, plaintiff then discovered that Bryan Freedman had also been accused of SA, specifically of violent gang R-word. Well, not that R-word, so like, you know what, you can read it right there. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it or not in these things. Never sure fully. She subsequently discovered that he had reportedly paid thousands of dollars to settle the claim. After discovering the court documents detailing the allegations against defendant Freedman, Ms. Nikolas organized an Eat Predators protest outside of defendant Freedman's office in 2022. This protest was typical of her previous ones, wherein she called out an individual in the entertainment industry accused of SA, in addition to providing legal representation to individuals accused of the same. What was decidedly atypical is that defendant Freedman had also represented and positioned himself to the public as a lawyer for survivors of abuse and assault in the entertainment industry. In addition to protests at defendant Freedman's office, plaintiff created YouTube videos and Instagram posts about the allegations against defendant Freedman. That same year, media outlets began taking interest in Ms. Nikolas's protests, including those about defendant Freedman. Despite covering the rest of the Eat Predators protests, some media outlets suspiciously excluded reporting on her protests outside of defendant Freedman's office around the same time that Ms. Nikolas was corresponding with various media outlets about her Freedman protests. A smear website was created about Ms. Nikolas, alexanikolas.net. Someone wanted the story about defendant Freedman buried. They also tried to bury Ms. Nikolas. The persons behind alexanikolas.net failed. Thank you for the gold coin for 10 jewels there, Lex. Notice how they use the word bury. Even here, they recognize bury as like stories. Miss Nikolas only learned that defendant Freedman himself was a conspirator behind the PR machine that attacked her in December of 2025. The smear website and related content did not identify an owner nor an author. The individuals behind the smear campaign went to painstaking lengths to conceal their identities and prevent their defamatory conduct from being associated with those individuals responsible. The smear website contained damaging lies about Miss Nikolas, her family, her character, and her career. These same defamatory statements soon began circulating around Twitter. A Twitter account with a username AlexaNikolas21 created after the website was to blame. At that time, Miss Nikolas was unsuccessful in her attempts to identify the individuals responsible. She has only recently discovered the identity of the responsible parties behind it due to facts revealed during separate litigation stemming from events subsequent to the creation of plaintiff's smear website. In December of 2024, actress Blake Lively filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni and his production company, Wayfarer Studios, for claims of SH on the set of the movie It Ends With Us. Ms. Lively's lawsuit included claims alleging a retaliation campaign waged against her by Baldoni and his PR team led by defendant Nathan in response to Lively's coming forward with allegations of harassment. In her lawsuit, it is alleged that Justin Baldoni retained Jennifer Abel, Melissa Nathan, and a Texas-based contractor named Jed Wallace, among others, to engage in an online campaign intended to shift the narrative of events and public perception against Miss Lively. In her deposition, Miss Lively specifically testified that Bryan Freedman, the opposing party's lawyer questioning Miss Lively, was directly involved in the smear campaign against her. Miss Lively's lawsuit sparked other lawsuits, including one filed by Stephanie Jones. Okay, that again, Stephanie Jones's lawsuit came first, technically. If we're going to be technical about it. As publicist who owns JonesWorks LLC. JonesWorks previously represented Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios. In 2025, Ms. Jones sued Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios, among others, for breach of contract and tortious interference related to Abel's and defendant Nathan's alleged actions in soliciting Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios as clients from JonesWorks. In the wake of the press coming out about It Ends With Us, the parties in both the Lively and the Jones lawsuits engaged in discovery throughout 2025. In December of 2025, Ms. Jones moved to amend her complaint to add causes of actions against the defendant Melissa Nathan and other defendants. Discovery allegedly revealed evidence that defendant Nathan, in concert with other Doe defendants, engaged in a smear campaign against Jones. This campaign included websites similar to Alexa Nikolas, .net that targeted Miss Jones. Among other revelations, the discovery process uncovered that defendant Nathan's contractor, defendant Jed Wallace, and his company Street Relations Inc. engaged in a practice of creating highly offensive and negative online content against individuals. Their targets often include women that have accused powerful individuals of SA with a clear intent of destroying those individuals' reputations. The websites identified in the Jones case included AlexaNicholas.net as another one of defendant Nathan and her team's smear campaigns. Data and activity reveal evidence of common authorship between AlexaNicholas.net and the sites discussed in Jones. These smear campaigns are created by a network of press relations personnel, attorneys, and contractors, including named defendants and Does 1 through 100. These smear campaigns include social media activity, press coverage, litigation, and in some cases, defamatory websites. The evidence uncovered in the Lively and Jones cases has revealed that Ms. Nikolas was a victim of a smear campaign taken from the playbook. Okay, now they're using the word playbook. I feel like interesting. And again, this is the judge, I think, stating the argument that Alexa's making. But I keep picking up on a lot of keywords that was used in the Blake Lively case that's kind of being repurposed for this case. Playbook of Melissa Nathan, Bryan Freedman, and Does 1 to 100. Miss Nikolas has suffered severe damage caused by the lies published about her and only now has learned the identities of some of those responsible. Throughout discovery, Miss Nikolas will identify anyone and everyone else in defaming her. Hold on, un momento. I'm so thirsty. I just finished all my water. So I just wanted to do a music break real quick. While I grab my water. Un momento. I'll be back in a millisecond. I'm just trying to figure out which one to do real quick. Christina said, so does this person have any proof? The things that came from like the Lively case is where she's getting stuff. I'm gonna play I think Traitor. While I'll be back, I'm gonna play Traitor quick, and then yeah.
I almost threw my laptop across the room. I was so disgusted. What's this new story you're telling? You always wanted a female director. Where was that in your emails back in 2019? Oh, you're a writer, that's right. You're a traitor, that's for sure. You say you have your own story to tell. Show us the receipts instead. Do you need me to jog your memory? Do I need to read your emails back to you? You told them that he gets the book. That was the important thing to you. Do you remember that? Oh, you're a writer, that's right. You're a traitor, that's for sure. You say you have your own story to tell. Show us the receipts instead. You said your big fear is to option the book to someone who thinks it's a hot romance and take it the absolute wrong direction. Then you sided with her. Grab your friends, grab your florals. Are you kidding me? Oh, you're a writer, that's right. You're a traitor, that's for sure. You say you have your own story to tell. Show us the receipts instead. You're a backstabber, you're insecure, begging to sit at the popular table. How much did it cost to sell your integrity? Oh, you're a writer, that's right. You're a traitor, that's for sure. You say you have your own story to tell. Show us the receipts instead. Oh, you're a writer, that's right. You're a traitor, that's for sure. You say you have your own story to tell. Show us the receipts instead.
As a reminder, Traitor came from actually like a lot of the chorus came from Carol and the ass came from Rachel. So that's every time I think of this song Traitor, both Rachel and Carol come to mind. Hey April. All right, so let's continue to read this whole thing. On November 23, 2022, a smear website targeting Miss Nikolas, AlexaNikolas.net, was created. This website was created to discredit and defame Miss Nikolas. On the same date, within seconds of AlexaNikolas.net being purchased, the website domain AlexaNikolasLies.com was also purchased from the same registrar, Dynadot.com. The timing of this website is no coincidence. At this point, defendant Freedman knew Miss Nikolas was exposing his past allegations of gang, and the website explicitly sought to discredit her. In January of 2024, another smear website was created that mentioned Miss Nikolas, lookbackfraud.com. This website was connected to the AlexaNikolas.net website through a Twitter account, AlexaNikolas21, created in December 2022, that spread the AlexaNikolas.net defamatory content. Despite Ms. Nikolas' diligent efforts to determine who was responsible, it was not until December of 2025 that Ms. Nikolas learned of the identities of those involved in the creation of her smear campaign. Hi, wait, is this Theon or... This is Theon, right? I know that when you switch your account, This is gotta be Theon's account, right? But hi. The only reason I question for a moment is like there's the one you don't know, but it always, because it starts with the same word, like letters, always get thrown off. Upon information and belief, Bryan, Freedman, and Melissa Nathan, either individually or through entities and individuals they retain, create and or authorize the creation of smear websites, social media accounts, and the traffic around same to discredit individuals who speak out against their clients and or engage in litigation against their clients. Defendant Freedman and Nathan individually or by and through their agents control the copy of those websites. Thank you for the high five, Lex. Okay. I don't know how to make it go down. Wait. How do I make it? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. So thank you for the high five for 100 jewels. Theo said, yeah, my other phone I left into a hotel room, but I had this one on me, so I jumped on. Okay. Okay. Among these websites are those directed at Miss Nikolas. Miss Nikolas's background disputes with defendant Freedman indicate that Freedman launched and or otherwise was involved in the creation and distribution of defamatory statements made against Miss Nikolas. He sought to directly benefit from them. His clients like Diplo also sought to directly benefit from them, as Miss Nikolas, who was also organizing protests against the DJ due to allegations against him of SA in the summer of 2022. While his clients may have been beneficiaries of the same, defendants Freedman's engaged in or authorized smear campaigns for his own personal benefit, as Miss Nikolas had publicized allegations of gang against him around the time that the websites against her were launched. There were multiple websites that have been identified in the Jones versus Baldoni matter. Why do they call it the Jones versus Baldoni? I mean, Baldoni is involved in that lawsuit, but it's always been referred to as Jones versus Abel. So I feel like that's a choice to say Baldoni. Jones versus Baldoni matter, which appear to have evidence of common authorship. If I hear the word authorship one more time, no, just kidding. This includes AlexaNicholas.net, which accuses Miss Nikolas of being a criminal, of extorting multiple ex-boyfriends, and threatening to manufacture claims of SA. All of these statements are false and have damaged Miss Nikolas. AlexaNicholas.net is a website unilaterally designed to publicize damaging lies about Miss Nikolas. The website is titled Alexa Nikolas Exposed and calls her a sinister and criminal force. The website says that they have personally watched her outright evil manipulation since seeing it firsthand almost a decade ago. The website states that one of Miss Nikolas's exes specifically shared that Alexa viciously threatened him if he didn't lie in court, and say that her friend admitted to SAing multiple men and women in college. This claim is demonstrably false. Ooh, a 6-hour drive, Theon. I'd be exhausted myself. The website also claims that several ex-boyfriends of Alexa's have come forward to share that Alexa threatened that either they had to pay Alexa, yes, pay her and support her, or she would start campaigns of SA against them. This claim is demonstrably false. The website claims that Miss Nikolas's husband, a private individual, has married an alleged SA perpetrator. The website says her husband has a history of multiple reports accusing him of SAing 5 victims. The website further asks, do her husband's parents, Nick Gray, realize they are financing the agenda of someone as dangerous as Alexa? Do they know they are financing a sinister plot along with Joe Dunn? To be clear, this entire allegation is demonstrably false. It merits noting that Nick Gray is not even the correct name of Miss Nikolas's husband's father. The website continued to be updated, including posting an update on January 25, 2023, that her child was being used as a pawn. This is demonstrably false. The website states that Joe Dunn finances her work with Eat Predators. This claim is demonstrably false. The website states that Miss Nikolas has attacked Britney Spears, threatening to expose information she has about Britney as a parent. This is demonstrably false. The false claims on AlexaNikolas.net have damaged Miss Nikolas. Furthermore, much of the website's copy was also posted to a Twitter account, AlexaNikolas21, which was created in or around December 2022 and linked the AlexaNikolas.net smear website, driving traffic to the same. The Twitter account posted the same lies as AlexaNikolas.net in a series of tweets, some of which are identified here. The AlexaNikolas21 account interacted with other accounts with similar messaging about Nikolas between 2022 and present. The AlexaNikolas21 Twitter account linked another one of the smear websites on September 16, 2024, lookbackfraud.com. The Twitter account remained active into 2025, making additional false statements, including that she comes out of the woodworks when she needs new donations. This statement is demonstrably false. The lookbackfraud.com website appears to have been registered on January 2, 2024. The website is still Look Back Fraud, the modern-day digital crime family. The authors, creators, and owners of the websites and those who created the copy on the websites have concealed their identities. The website is authored such that it appears to come from a whistleblower, where everyone involved, myself included, is a criminal and a complicit in one of the most elaborate organized crime efforts of the modern era, from my perspective. The website focuses in part on Joe Dunn, the former California state senator and attorney. Lookbackfraud.com attempts to connect Miss Nikolas to some sort of alleged criminal scheme by Joe Dunn. Miss Nikolas has no criminal history and has not participated in anything criminal with Joe Dunn. This website is yet another attempt to defame her. Furthermore, the connection of these two websites by the AlexaNikolas21 Twitter account, evidence of common authorship. How many times? I know it's probably only 3 times, but once was enough. Between the two, discussed in greater detail below. The first cause of action for defamation further alleges Miss Nikolas has been damaged by the lies perpetuated on AlexaNikolas.net, the allegations that she had done something criminal from lookbackfraud.com. The defamatory statements have subjected her to years of hatred and directly impacted her credibility and ability to scale her business. Defendants Freedman, Nathan, and Doe, defendants 1 to 100, published or caused to be published by and through others the website AlexaNikolas.net, the Twitter account AlexaNikolas21, and lookbackfraud.com, and engaged in activity designed to bring traffic to the websites and Twitter account. These websites and social media account identify Miss Nikolas by name and intended to make those statements about Miss Nikolas. The websites were viewed by numerous third parties. The websites included numerous false statements of fact regarding Miss Nikolas, including the following: Miss Nikolas is a criminal force. Miss Nikolas demanded that a protester manufacture and perpetuate misinformation for the sake of the movement, and that those who questioned the merit of the claims were also threatened. Miss Nikolas told close friends she would manufacture Me Too narratives, even though she was kidding. That Miss Nikolas had an ex-boyfriend who she viciously threatened if he didn't lie in court and say that their friend admitted to SAing multiple men and women in college. That Miss Nikolas had threatened to leak and outright manufacture claims of SA against people, execs, and executives since the Nickelodeon days. That several ex-boyfriends of Alexa's have come forward to share that Alexa threatened that either they had to pay Alexa, yes, pay her and support her, or she would start a campaign of SA against them. That Miss Nikolas' husband is an alleged SA perpetrator who has a history of multiple reports accusing him of SAing 5 victims. That her husband's parents, Nick Gray, realize they are financing the agenda of someone as dangerous as Alexa, and that the entire situation was buried by his lawyers. That her child was being used as a pawn. That Joe Dunn financed Eat Predators. That Miss Nikolas had attacked Britney Spears, threatening to expose information she has about Britney as a parent. That Miss Nikolas pops out of the woodworks when she needs more donations. That Miss Nikolas could be described as a Nazi or has anything affiliated with that term whatsoever. Defendants engage in this conduct intentionally, knowingly, and willfully. Defendants actually knew the statements of fact were false or had serious doubts about the truth of them and nevertheless made with reckless disregard. The statements caused Miss Nikolas to experience hatred, contempt, and ridicule. Defendant's conduct approximately caused injury to plaintiff. Plaintiff has sustained and will sustain pain and suffering and psychological and emotional distress, mental anguish, lost income, embarrassment, and humiliation. The second cause of action for intentional infliction of emotional distress further alleges in creating, controlling, and maintaining a defamatory website, online posts, and social media accounts against Ms. Nikolas for years, while simultaneously concealing any affiliations with the same. Defendants engaged in conduct towards plaintiff, including publicly alleging and promoting that she is a criminal and that she manufactures fake claims of sexual assault and that her husband was accused of 5 women. That is extreme and outrageous, so as to exceed the bounds of decency in a civilized society. Both causes of actions arise from defendants' alleged publication of false and defamatory statements on various websites. In articulating what constitutes a matter of public interest, courts look to certain specific considerations, such as whether the subject of the speech or activity was a person or entity in the public eye, or could affect large numbers of people beyond the direct participants, and whether the activity occurred in the context of an ongoing controversy, dispute, or discussion, or affected a community in a manner similar to that of a governmental entity. Further, there must be some degree of closeness between the challenged statements and the asserted public interest. Freedman argues that the alleged statements concern the public interest because plaintiff is a limited purpose public figure who organizes public protests against sexual misconduct by celebrities and other high-profile men, and that the statements concern plaintiff's motives for such public advocacy. In particular, the allegedly defamatory statements about plaintiff's concern whether her own public advocacy is genuine or itself a disingenuous smear campaign motivated by personal animus and or profit. Plaintiff argues in opposition that the statements do not concern the public interest because at the time the statements were made, she was just beginning her advocacy journey and therefore not yet a public figure, and personal attacks such as accusing plaintiff of being a criminal or putting her children at risk are not in the public interest or in furtherance of the public interest debate. A limited purpose public figure is one who voluntarily injects himself or is drawn into a particular public controversy and thereby becomes a public figure for a limited range of issues. 3 elements must be present to characterize someone as a limited purpose public figure. First, there must be a public controversy, which means the issue was debated publicly and had foreseeable and substantial ramification for non-participants. Second, the plaintiff must have undertaken some voluntary act through which he or she sought to influence resolution of the public issue. And finally, the alleged defamation must be germane to the plaintiff's participation in the controversy. In support of her argument that such personal attacks are not in the public interest, plaintiff cites to Albanese versus Menonas, and Wilson versus Cable News Network, Inc. Okay, I'm gonna pass through this because these are just things that I'm not interested in, to be frank. Okay, dropping down to here, plaintiff is more of a public figure in general than a celebrity, stylist, or field producer by virtue of her appearances on the national televised shows Zoe 101 and The Walking Dead. Plaintiff then further put herself in the public eye through her advocacy work. Thus, like the woman who voluntarily appeared on Who Wants to Marry a Multimillionaire, plaintiff has invited public comment about her public work or public advocacy on a matter of significant concern, SA of others. In this regard, plaintiff also argues that there is no functional relationship between the alleged defamatory statements about plaintiff and discussions of the broader public interest issues. In support, plaintiff cites the Dual Diagnosis Treatment Center, Inc. versus Bushell. Their statements that a rehabilitation facility was unlicensed to practice were not of widespread public interest because they pertain not only to a single facility and to the extent they were of interest to a limited group of clients, neighbors, and industry professionals. There was no ongoing controversy, dispute, or discussion. Here, there is an ongoing controversy, dispute, and discussion concerning widespread and pervasive SA, both more broadly and in the entertainment industry specifically. That broader discussion concerns both the abuse of power by men in charge and the credibility of those who accuse them of such misconduct. Thus, taken in a vacuum, statements about plaintiff's personal dynamics with her ex-husband and her purported use of her child as a pawn might seem unrelated to her advocacy work. But when considered in the broader context, which include the fact that plaintiff has publicly accused her ex-husband of abuse and her public advocacy work accusing others of the same, her credibility and motives in making such public statements are directly connected. Therefore, the court determines that the alleged defamatory statements are made in connection with the public interest. As such, Freedman has met his burden to establish the alleged defamatory statements arise from protected speech, shifting the burden to the plaintiff to establish the probability of prevailing on her claims. Okay. Interesting that it's interesting that the article never brought up that the court determined that the alleged defamatory statements were made in connection with a public interest, and for that reason, Freedman had met his burden to establish that alleged defamatory statements arise from the protected free speech. Instead, they only focus on number two, the probability of prevailing. This is why I rather read things for myself, because there's a reason why they omit one and focus on the other. Like, I think, at least. Or maybe that's my own distrust of how they reported in the past, especially the Hollywood Reporter. That's a hit or miss, I feel like. So this is where the probability of prevailing, this is the portion that the Hollywood Reporter did use and did quote. So it says, Freedman argues that plaintiff is unlikely to prevail because plaintiff's claims are untimely and plaintiff's claims are deficient. Specifically, Freedman argues plaintiff's claims fail on the merits because plaintiff cannot prove falsity. The alleged defamatory statements constitute mere opinion as opposed to actionable defamation. Plaintiff cannot prove which statements were allegedly made by which defendants, and plaintiff cannot prove actual malice. So first, timeliness. Freedman first argues plaintiff's claims are time barred because the alleged defamatory statements were published online on or before January 2024. Yet plaintiff did not file the instant lawsuit until more than a year later on February 5, 2026. The statute of limitations for defamation is 1 year. However, the first amended complaint alleges that the plaintiff was unable to discover the identities of the publishers until December 2025, when the websites that had allegedly defamed plaintiffs were listed in publicly filed documents in other high-profile cases involving online smear campaigns. Notwithstanding, Freedman argues that the identity of the defendant is not essential to a defamation claim. In support, Freedman cites to Bernstein versus Browning Ferris Industries. There, the High Court explained that while the general rule is that the ignorance of the identity of a wrongdoer is insufficient to toll the statute of limitations, since the plaintiff can simply sue them as a DOE defendant, that general rule does not apply when, as a result of the defendant's intentional concealment, the plaintiff is not only unaware of the defendant's identity, but it is effectively precluded as a practical matter from asserting it through normal discovery procedures. As long as the plaintiff is duly diligent, the inability to discover the wrongdoer invokes the doctrine of fraudulent concealment and tolls the running of the statute of limitations. This is because the primary interest served by statutes of limitation is that of repose, to ensure that plaintiffs proceed diligently with their claims and mitigate the difficulties faced by defendants in defending stalemates, where factual obscurity through the loss of time, memory, or supporting documentation may present unfair handicaps, but where the bar becomes a sword rather than a shield wielded by a party that has intentionally cloaked its identity factors of fairness and unjust enrichment come into play, which courts are bound to consider in equity and good conscience. A statute of limitations barring relief to victims before the defendant is or could be discovered violates this equitable guarantee of fairness. Thus, a defendant who intentionally conceals his or her identity may be equitably stopped from asserting the statute of limitations to defeat an untimely claim. In this regard, plaintiff advances her own declaration, which provides as follows. I had no idea at the time and never would have imagined that AlexaNikolas.net or the Twitter account AlexaNikolas21 were connected to Freedman. Neither the website nor the Twitter account contained any information regarding its author or owner. The website also did not appear to be polished enough to be created by anyone like Freedman or acting at his direction. Freedman was moreover a high-profile and serious attorney, and I did not expect he would have been behind either. You know what I will say? I agree. I agree with Alexa when she says it did not appear polished enough. That's the thing that gets me about these websites that they claim came out of Jed Wallace or whatever. But probably, I'm guessing that they're blaming this, I'm guessing again, on Rosa. But I will say that the websites are ridiculously basic and templatey, and everything is kind of, I was like, how is he supposed to be this mastermind? And how are we like supposed to, how is this such a mastermind and the websites look like that? Why does everything look the same? It's basically a calling card. It's almost like saying, yeah, we made a bunch of these websites because they all ridiculously look the same. They have the same voice. They have the same whatever. So it's a really interesting thing. Hey, Gelth Walker. Yes, I ended the live on Hayden and restarted a new one. So you are safe to return, I suppose, unless you hear something else that makes you go, you need to bounce. And if you do, I totally understand. At this time in late 2022, I had a stalker who had escalated his obsessive activity, including physically stalking me and making serious threats of physical assault, including death threats. I assumed that the website and Twitter account were his, although he later denied in sworn testimony that he had created it. In late 2022, I also was pregnant with my second child at the time and concerned about my health and safety. I obtained a restraining order against my stalker, but was advised by my stalker victim's counselor and others not to pursue legal action against my stalker based on the website for fear of escalating the situation. A true and correct copy of the restraining order I obtained is attached here too as Exhibit C. I had no idea who, other than my stalker, would have created the anonymous website and Twitter account. I performed who is searches and made other attempts to determine the owner and author, but could find nothing. Adding to my impression that my stalker was behind the site, activity on the Alexa Nikolas website died down after I obtained a final restraining order. In mid to late 2023, I aired 2 new YouTubes on Bryan Freedman, including a discussion of the allegations made against him and my experience with media controlled by his clients. Around this same time, on July 12, 2023, an update was posted to AlexaNikolas.com, claiming that I falsely accused Jonah Hill of abuse. In January 2024, a second smear website about me was created, lookbackfraud.com. This website included false and defamatory content that former Senator Joe Dunn and I engaged in criminal activity and encouraged others to make false claims of SA. As with AlexaNikolas.net, I was unable to determine the website's author or ownership. All of the content on Look Back Fraud was completely anonymous. A true and correct copy of screenshots of lookbackfraud.com is attached as Exhibit D. Compounding the problem of anonymity of the author or owner of either website, I also discovered that after the fact, through Stephanie Jones, that payments for those websites had been made in cryptocurrency rather than through a traditional credit card or bank account, which would have at least been traceable. So now we have two people saying that they found out through Stephanie Jones certain things, right? We learned that Blake Lively learned things through Stephanie Jones. And when she says, like, she says she talked to Stephanie Jones. She says she talked to Stephanie Jones. Blake Lively did in her deposition that was recently released. That was the big what moment for me. She says she had spoken to Stephanie Jones. Here it says through Stephanie Jones. We don't know necessarily. We don't know necessarily if when it says through Stephanie Jones, she spoke to Stephanie Jones, or if like stuff was given to her. But I find it interesting that Stephanie Jones is the one providing this information. How would she know any of these things? Again, unless this is something that she obtained through where? Through discovery for the Jones versus Abel case? I understand it for the Blake Lively versus Wayfarer case. They never said they got this from Blake Lively, where you would assume that that's where you're going to get it. You know what I'm saying? They don't say that this came through the Blake Lively versus Wayfarer case. They said this came through Stephanie Jones. So how about the Rebel versus? I mean, they do bring up Blake Lively versus Wayfarer in this thing, but the fact that she says it was through Stephanie Jones that she found out the payments for those websites have been made in cryptocurrency. How does she know this? How? Have in case you do fall asleep, Kenny, good night. Christina says SJ is so reliable. Upside down smiley face. She responsible? I mean, she responsible, and just try to pin it on someone else because I could see that. Gelth says, as people have said, Stephanie Jones has a lot to answer for. Yeah, I just find it very interesting that at least two people have credited their knowledge of anything through Stephanie Jones. That tells me she's when Jamie was telling her stop contacting everybody, I mean, it's clear she was contacting everybody. Still, because I mean, this is wild to me. I mean, not to say that she doesn't have the right to, but I'm just curious as to how she obtained information when Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace and Brian Freedman don't work for Stephanie Jones. And yet Stephanie Jones is the one funneling this information to Blake and to Alexa. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out through reading something in the Rebel case or any other case that suddenly I had a conversation with Stephanie Jones, or it was through Stephanie Jones. That's why I look at Stephanie Jones with such a side eye, not because, again, I'm a pursuer of the truth, and whatever the truth is, the good, the bad, or the ugly on this. And that's why I always said, like, I'm not going to, like, wherever the evidence leads me, that is where I will go. But I do think that I am looking forward to the Jones versus Abel case, because I'm hoping to get some clarity on why Stephanie Jones is such a conduit for so many things, and how I need to understand how in the world she knows all of these things and then spreads it to so many people. Like, I don't know. Christina does that. Like, I don't know. I'm a bad emoji describer. But that you said that's how I look at SJ. Kiara said, okay, I'm back. Should I be concerned that BF is behind a smear website? I mean, it's definitely something that's on the table, Kiara. It's something definitely that's on the table. There's multiple sites that, you know, they have tried to connect with Brian Freedman, Melissa Nathan, and Jed Wallace. My thing, though, is I'm trying to understand how in all of this, Stephanie Jones's name keeps coming up. I can understand the Blake Lively case. But we have not seen anything for the Jones versus Abel case. So how in the world does Alexa say that she learned these things through Stephanie Jones? Why isn't this something that she obtained in a different way? So is Stephanie Jones funneling something before like discovery has been even like how did she get that to her? I understand it on the Blake Lively side, but she doesn't credit Blake Lively for it. She credits Stephanie Jones. Thank you for the floating heart for 10 jewels, Lex. Confessions of a Jaded Optimist. Hello, you said, how does she still have clients? I know. Every time I think about Russell Wilson, who I love, like, Russ, why are you still with Stephanie? Kiara said that will suck because RR and BL will say they were smearing us. But that's the thing. There is no website for them. I mean, the website that they have for them is literally legal papers that all of us have read. So they don't have any leg to stand on. There is no website. There is a reason I said that Blake Lively was able to find so much evidence, apparently, for everyone but herself, which showed that nobody was trying to delete Jack Squat. Well, I shouldn't say they weren't trying to delete Jack Squat. Who knows, really? But if they would not leave other incriminating things in a text message, if, you know, so I don't know. All to say, we'll see where the evidence leads. I mean, there's aspects of this that don't look good for Freedman, Melissa, and Jed. But there's also, like, still a lot to discover. Because I'm very confused about the basicness of the website. I always feel like the purpose of the website is not... I guess if you're trying to make it seem like, oh, I don't know how to use the internet and I'm just creating this website to... Maybe the plainness of it is intentional. I don't know if I can show you... because it was like, what was it called? If it was like .net or something. I'm sure it's been pulled down since because of it all, but Elisa said, I have no knowledge of cryptocurrency. I wonder why it's so hard to trace. Confessions of a Jaded Optimist says Jones is well connected and went scorched earth. Gelth Walker asked Kiara, said to Kiara, I doubt Bryan did the smear campaigns. He doesn't seem as unethical as the other lawyers. The difficulty I will have with it really is there is like a recording of Jed Wallace talking to Melissa about not this case, but the Rebel case with Amanda Ghost. And if any of those allegations that they're talking about in that audio is not true, then he was saying that everybody's in like has discussed this or believes that this is the route to go. And that includes himself, Melissa, and Bryan. And Katie was supposed to write the copy. So it doesn't look like, if you take into consideration that evidence, this is why I'm saying what has always harmed Blake Lively is she never has had any evidence. Like that thing for Amanda Ghost is a big piece of evidence. You know what I mean? Against Rebel Wilson. And as long as you're able to find something concrete and not just like whatever. And I think that's why Blake Lively wanted the other ones to be in consideration for her case. Because if she couldn't find anything to prove her case, the best way that I think she was hoping was to kind of insinuate that there is this pattern, and because this pattern exists, it must be true in her case. Thank you for the star for 2 jewels, Lex. Kiara, what do you mean I carry Jed and Melissa myself? What's that mean? You know I'm bad at typos, and if that's a typo, I can't read what it means. Plaintiff has established that whoever made these posts did do so anonymously, intentionally obscuring their identities. Further, by timing the post to die down in tandem with plaintiff's restraining order proceedings against a stalker, the anonymous posters further obscured their identities by making it appear as though the stalker was responsible. Even further, when plaintiff investigated into the ownership of the domain names, she received information that the websites were paid for with cryptocurrency, which information further prevented her from uncovering the true identities of the individuals behind the posts, despite diligent efforts. Even further, no matter how diligent she searched, plaintiff could not have discovered the connections between the websites smearing plaintiff and the websites smearing Stephanie Jones and Amanda Ghost sooner, because those latter websites did not even exist until 2024. This all came to public light in December 2025 when the expert report of Bryan Horton was public. Okay, that explains it. That explains how it says through Stephanie Jones. So, okay, that's helpful. So it's not because she had a conversation with Stephanie Jones. They said this was publicly filed in the Stephanie Jones case. I got to look at that in December 2025. I don't have time to read it tonight. Let me see though. Jones versus Abel. So December 2025, they said Bryan Horton publicly. Bryan Horton. Okay, the Horton expert report. How big is this? 29 pages. Oh yeah, we do not have time for this tonight. Ooh, but it kind of seems interesting for later. Ooh. Oh, I will like this. Oh, I will really like this. Oh. Okay. Oh. Sorry, y'all. Oh. Huh. Okay. I'm going to like this. I'm going to save this. We'll do this on another live. This is a Bryan Horton expert report. So that's how she find out from Stephanie Jones. Okay, it's less side eye. I mean, not less. It's not side eye after all, because that makes sense. Okay, that feels better at least. Christina said the expert reports that were based off of crappy or incomplete info. What do you mean? What do you mean, Christina? Night Khaleesi. Kiara said side eye. I side eye Jed and Melissa myself. Got it. How did they get Carrie out of side eye? Christina said it has a translate thing next to it. The thing it was doing to me the other night, and I look crazy because most of the chat weren't telling me they see it too. I just stopped asking. Christina, I could always see it. That thing, I could always see it. I'm sorry, I never confirmed that, but I always did see it. I thought I confirmed it, but maybe I didn't. Confessions of a Jaded Optimist. Justin and team did not want offense. They wanted defense, so they didn't direct a smear campaign. But if they want it, they could have. Kiara said, right, that would be for Justin, but not this person in my mind. Gelf says, does Bryan Horton hear a who? Christina said, what case is the expert report? It's Stephanie Jones's. The Jones versus Abel case. It came out on that. They said here when the expert report of Bryan Horton was publicly filed in the Stephanie Jones case. So according to that report, Mr. Horton was able to connect the dots between websites smearing his client, Stephanie Jones, in 2024 with prior websites that had smeared Amanda Ghost in 2024 and plaintiff in 2022 to 2023. Mr. Horton would have been able to connect those dots because of the time he conducted his investigation into the website smearing Miss Jones. The prior website smearing Miss Ghost and plaintiff already existed. By contrast, in 2022 to 2023, when the websites first popped up smearing plaintiff, those other websites did not yet exist. Thus, no matter how diligently plaintiff investigated, there were no dots to connect yet. How do you know that she's the first one, though? I think that's a little bit more shoddy argument. Like how did they find this? How did they find this? And how do they know that hers is like one of the first ones? Did they only go, how far did they go back? Bryan Horton is the founder of Breadcrumb Cybersecurity. I mean, we might look at it. I mean, we can look a little bit at it. We'll see. Okay. Yeah. But this statement, I don't know if this is true. If he says, by contrast, in 2022 to 2023, when the websites first popped up smearing plaintiff, those websites did not yet exist. Thus, no matter how diligently plaintiff investigated, there were no dots to connect yet. But you don't know that. Like, you're not the one that discovered these websites. So even afterwards, like, unless you had someone after the fact tell you that, you still probably wouldn't have found it. Maybe. That's why I was so surprised when a regular person found it. I was like, how did the regular person find it? That's why people have asked, how do you know that the person's a regular person? And it's like, you're right. But I don't know. Further, plaintiff would not necessarily have known that the website smearing Miss Jones and or Miss Ghost contained false information or were otherwise connected to the website smearing plaintiff until the information was made public by the way of Miss Jones' lawsuit. Thus, there is no evidence suggesting that a deep forensic dive in 2022 or 2023, as Freedman urges plaintiff should have done, would have uncovered the connections necessary to tie her own websites to Freedman, since those connections did not yet exist. You don't know that, though. So you're saying that all of this just happened in 2022? Because I feel like there's smear campaign websites further back that I found for like against different people, like lawyers, interestingly enough. Like very early on. And also Bryan Freedman had a smear campaign. Actually, now that I think about it, she's saying here that this is retaliation by Bryan Freedman because she brought to light the allegations against him about gang, the next word after that. But the smear campaign or smear website against Bryan Freedman shared that information. And I forget when the Bryan Freedman one was created. So we have to actually look at that too. It was not until websites were made about Miss Ghost and Miss Jones in 2024, which Miss Jones subsequently investigated and uncovered the connections between those websites, the Blake Lively case, and the earlier website smearing plaintiff, that the parties were able to uncover defendant's connection to the website smearing plaintiff. As plaintiff explains, the report details the connections between a number of smear websites made by defendants. Data and activity revealed evidence of common authorship. Stop. I know it's just 4 times so far, I think, but enough. Between alexanikolas.net, lookbackfraud.com, and other sites discussing Jones, including StephanieJonesLies.com, StephanieJonesLeaks.com, https minhijin.net, https Paige Jimenez.com, AmandaGhostSucks.com, and Alexander Brothers Extorted.com. Moreover, the Lively, Jones, Ghost, and other lawsuits involving defendants each describe similar underlying facts. A client of Bryan Freedman desired to wage a hostile PR war against an opponent. Websites were then created to spread false and malicious lies about those opponents, which were not only spread to the media, but which were also cited by Freedman himself in court filings on his client's behalf. As soon as I became aware of the Horton report, the connection between the smear websites attacking me and the connection to those involved in the litigations described above, I sought counsel and filed this lawsuit. Without anything to go on previously, given the complete anonymity of the sites and no other traceable leads, including but not limited to payment histories for the websites, I could not have discovered the role of defendants in creating the smear websites. AlexaNikolas.net, after remaining on the internet for years, was taken offline right after the Jones lawsuit was filed, along with other victim websites, including Amanda Ghost. Therefore, in the time period between when my attorney filed the original complaint in this action and when the file stamp copy became available, my website briefly became a cryptocurrency casino website. It has now been taken offline altogether. Thus, plaintiff has demonstrated a reasonable probability that she will prevail on the statute of limitations issue. So, falsity of the statements. Freedman argues the plaintiff will be unable to prove the falsity of the statements. Plaintiff has provided her own declaration indicating that these statements are false. Okay, I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to show you the Bryan Horton. I said we weren't gonna do it in this one, but we might as well. Why not? Because I'll just show you the websites that they looked at. I'm not going to go into who Bryan Horton is. Just know he's part of Breadcrumb Cybersecurity. Because the first few pages is just him talking about like his what do you call it? His resume, right? So his compensation here for his work performed in this matter, he said, is based on my standard expert witness billing cycle, billing rates. My fees are not contingent upon the outcome of the case or the substance of the opinions expressed. So the hourly rates are $300 per hour for analysis, investigation, consultation, report preparation, and travel. $375 per hour for deposition or trial testimony, including standby time on the day of testimony. Oh, this thing has the word authorship in it too. No. He does have a footnote that says, I guess I should show it. Did they prove that it is their websites? No, I don't know. They haven't proven. They're kind of just basically saying, hey, what are the chances that all of these websites were created and they all had something to do with Bryan Freed? Like they all like had clients that were being opposing these folks, and like it can't be just a coinkydink, basically. So it's kind of like circumstantial evidence, I suppose. Because has it been traced fully back to any of them? I don't think so. But they're kind of like, use your noggin. There's all this circumstantial evidence that it has to be them, kind of thing. This report does not purport to be a complete list of websites or backlinking activity created by the same authors or associated with common publishing mechanisms or account structures. An omission of other websites or backlinking activity in the report should not be construed as an indication that such websites or backlinking activity were not created by the same authors or associated with common publishing mechanisms or account structures. And so this actually, interestingly enough, everything that this person said was exactly things that I heard the person who first discovered this websites bring up. He talked about backlinking. He talked about SEO. I don't know if he talked about SEO farms, but he definitely talked about backlinks and I don't know if it was the Wiki clone, but there was something else, I feel like. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to get down to the actual well, let's look at the opinion and basis. Opinion 1, multiple domains and social media properties examined in this assessment exhibit oh, no. I don't know why I hate my life every time it hits the word authorship. Consistent authorship and infrastructure indicators. Basis. Across the reviewed data set, recurring contributor usernames, overlapping hosting environments, and similar publication characteristics were identified. Handles such as UVDTF printer, NSN lookup, backlink buy, and free backlink services appeared on several independent domains referencing different subjects. These accounts publish materials using matching page formats, link structures, and timestamp sequences, and operated within the same cloud hosting environments. The repetition of contributor identities and publication behaviors across unrelated domains demonstrates that portions of the content were created or managed through accounts and systems exhibiting shared or closely related operational patterns. Opinion 2, subject-specific content shows overlapping use of contributor accounts defined as platform displayed user identifiers and associated with content creation, along with hosting infrastructure or page format templates across multiple subjects. So for basis, Stephanie Jones, pages on European Wiki clone platforms, reference repeated anchor texts such as Stephanie Jones Leaks and Stephanie Jones Scandal, linking to StephanieJonesLeaks.com and StephanieJonesLies.com. These pages use the same contributor accounts that appeared in materials for other subjects and were published within similar time windows and using nearly identical formatting conventions. This pattern stands out because decentralized Wiki clones ecosystems generally exhibit diverse contributor accounts. The recurrence of the same accounts across subject-specific pages would not typically occur unless a single author or a coordinated set of authors were involved. Amanda goes, content referencing the subject appeared in overlapping domains and used the same page structure and writing template observed in the Stephanie Jones data set. The same contributor handles, including the same contributor handles authored portions of this content, indicating shared control of the accounts or use of a common publishing system. Alexander Brothers / Jed Wallace. Pages on Wiki.io, Kalasa.net, and ncurdcollect.com included references to these subjects. Contributor accounts such as Backlink Buy, Free Backlinks Services, and Good Backlink Service published content on these domains and also authored pages in the Stephanie Jones and Amanda Go sets. Post timing, layout, anchor phrases, and keyword structures were consistent across all three subject groups. Alexa Nikolas, materials referencing the subject appeared in Harika.fi under accounts such as Jacqueline Chamol 2127, Backlink Buyer, and Mitty Gorney 6901, several of which also authored pages referencing Jed Wallace, and Alexander Brothers. The recurrence of these handles in writing format across subjects shows that a limited number of accounts and systems generated a substantial portion of the reviewed content. Opinion 3. The backlink and publication characteristics across the reviewed domains are consistent with SEO farm model designed to generate volume-based linked activity. The Wiki clone platforms produce numerous low-authority backlinks that interlink the same target domains, while social media and public profile pages added backlinks from higher authority sources. Inbound link mapping showed that many domains shared nearly identical backlink structures pointing to common destinations. Opinion 4. The text content across many of the reviewed sites display characteristics of templated or automated generation. This is why I'm saying, why did everything look the same? You know what I mean? The visible on-page text exhibited low semantic diversity and a highly repetitive structure. I agree. Sentences were syntactically valid, but frequently incoherent in context, relying on the same constrained set of names, descriptive terms, and phrasings. Term frequency distribution was narrow and nearly uniform across pages referencing multiple subjects. These characteristics indicate low semantic entropy, a common attribute of automated or semi-automated content used to generate keyword presence for search engines rather than narrative meaning. The repetitive phrasing, uniform keyword density, and formulaic construction patterns support the assessment that the material was produced using templated or automated text generation processes. Okay, so here are the websites that they used. And web pages and IP data. So it says the username UVDTF printer authored pages referencing both subjects on the same domain, indicating cross-subject authorship within a shared environment. And that there's a shared environment for Stephanie Jones and Amanda Ghost. Pages associated with both subjects resolved to identical IP ranges within Google ASN 15169, confirming that the content was hosted and served through the same infrastructure. Again, Stephanie Jones and Amanda Ghost. The same username authored content referencing both subjects on a single French-hosted domain, demonstrating reuse of contributor identity across unrelated topics. And then this one included Stephanie Jones, Alexander Brothers, and Jed Wallace. The account backlink by appears on two unrelated domains, linking to multiple subjects, showing overlapping authorship patterns and publication behaviors under shared account control. So these are showing all the backlink targets and the domain that was used. I wonder if can we is there a way to grab? Okay. Wonder if, okay. So let's look at some of these things. And I will say this was done. I mean, I saw this on every website. It's like nonsensical, nothing. It just has some random thing where it says Stephanie Jones extortion. if you read like the article itself or whatever, it's just used to bring this statement here. Okay, this is interesting. When I do the Stephanie Jones extortion website, look what happens. You can't go into it anymore, obviously. Potential threat detected. You can't go onto it anymore, but even more than that, they won't let you. But let's see here. That's Calibri's wiki.org. Okay. Is there a search? Let me translate this real quick. Translate it to English. Okay. And it's interesting because all of these websites are like all the resources that are used are like free sites. I mean, if it really truly is Jed Wallace, like my word, he charges high prices and then uses a bunch of free websites. I just find it interesting. So they find things for Amanda Ghost. They also saw one for the Alexandra Brothers extorted.com. This one, oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm not even showing. Forget. Ghost Walker said, "Got to keep the overhead costs down." Apparently, this website, I felt like I saw a lot of use of for other things. The Colossa.net. Oh my word. You try to go onto that, it marks it as risky website as well. It's like everything is blocking. Let's try this one. Amanda Ghost, mystrikingly.com. That one's still up. So this is that Amanda Ghost one before it got taken down. It says Amanda Ghost is a piece of work unliked by artists, unwell as evidenced by how she treats others, and nothing more than the 2020s version of Heidi Fleiss. Don't trust this thieving pimp. There exists nothing but destruction in her wake. And then there's an Amanda Ghost website. That's when they took over her website, but you know, whoever created these websites, like registered her own website against her. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Okay, that was it. But yeah, these were the kind of websites that they used. But definitely this Colossa.net. I forgot I'm not showing it anymore. Interesting. I mean, I understand why the judge let this go through, because there is enough circumstantial evidence, I think, to say, like, let's look at it more. Okay, so let's see if I can last for the last last 6 pages. We'll see. Falsity of the statements. Freedman argues that the plaintiff will be unable to prove the falsity of the statements. Plaintiff has provided her own declaration indicating that these statements are false. The website alexanikola.net contained extensive false and defamatory material. Other things that described me as a sinister and criminal force, stated that I destroyed lives and hurt families, that I outright manufacture claims of SA against people, and that I extorted ex-boyfriends, among other malicious falsehoods. None of these things are true. Shortly after alexanikolas.net went live, the same type of defamatory material began circulating around Twitter. A Twitter account with the username alexanikolas21 was created after the website. Its owner user was anonymous, although it used my name and likeness. And among other things, the tweets accused me of using my child as a pawn. In January 2024, a second smear website about me was created, lookbackfraud.com. This website included false and defamatory content that former California Senator Joe Dunn and I engaged in criminal activity and encouraged others to make false claims of SA. Freedman argues that a plaintiff's own denial of a statement's truth is insufficient to establish falsity for defamation purposes. In support, Freedman cites to Nizam al-Din versus City of Oakland as standing for the proposition that a plaintiff's own denial of a statement's truth standing alone is insufficient to establish falsity for defamation purposes. But neither the Pinsite nor the case generally stands for that proposition. Okay, I need to know if I'm saying, is it Pinsite? Which is a pinpoint citation that directs the reader to the exact page, paragraph, section, or footnote within a legal source where the reference materials appears. Okay, I was right. It's Pinsite. Okay. The Pinsite addresses whether the statement concerns a public issue for purposes of statutory protection, not the veracity of a sworn declaration indicating that the statements are false. Freedman also cites to Campanelli versus Regents of University of California as stating the plaintiff has the burden to produce evidence of falsity sufficient to permit a reasonable jury to conclude that the statement is false. That could appear nowhere in that case. Rather, the appellate court indicated Campanelli's complaint does not deny the truth of any of these statements and found that the complaint, coupled with Cappellini's own assertions of fact demonstrating that he engaged in verbally abusive and profane temper tantrums directed at his players, tended to concede the accuracy of the underlying statements that the players were in trouble psychologically. It does not stand for the proposition. Freedman asserts that a sworn declaration denying the truth of the statements is insufficient. Even further, plaintiff's declaratory statements are further corroborated by the court records of which the court takes judicial notice, demonstrating allegations by multiple plaintiffs of a similar modus operandi and common website traffic optimization tactics. Therefore, the court finds plaintiff has adequately demonstrated a probability of proving the falsity of the statements. So that's the article from the Hollywood Reporter. We knew that that was going to be the end of this because the probability of proving the falsity of the statements was the focus of the Hollywood Reporter that brought us here to read this document. Unactionable opinions. Freedman next argues that many of the allegedly defamatory statements are actually non-actionable opinions. Now, part of me goes, is this going to lean towards Freedman? And the only reason I'm guessing that I don't know if this is going to go towards, if it's going to be positive towards Freedman on this one. But I will say that the Hollywood Reporter didn't mention this part. And they didn't mention the first one. So it makes me think, will this portion be for the benefit of will Brian Freedman get this point? because of the lack of acknowledging it in the Hollywood Reporter article? I don't know. We'll find out. We shall see by the end of this reading. Freedom next argues that many of the allegedly defamatory statements are actually non-actionable opinions. Because the statement must contain a provable falsehood, courts distinguish between statements of fact and statements of opinion for purposes of defamation liability. Although statements of fact may be... Hold on, actually. If it's moving forward, this has got to go the direction of Alexa, doesn't it? Because how could it go move forward if she only has B? She has to have C too, wouldn't she? Anyways, okay, let's find out. Because the statement must contain a provable falsehood, courts distinguish between statements of fact and statements of opinion for purposes of defamation liability. Although statements of fact may be as actionable as a liable statements of opinion are constitutionally protected. Notwithstanding, expressions of opinion may imply an assertion of objective fact, and a statement that implies a false assertion of fact, even if couched as an opinion, can be actionable. Thus, the question is not strictly whether the published statement is fact or opinion, but is instead whether a reasonable fact finder could conclude the published statement declares or implies a provably false assertion of fact. Here, Freedman challenges the assertion the plaintiff was a criminal force and a Nazi, as well as asserts the plaintiff worked with a team to shape false legal claims against celebrities in exchange for a percentage of any recovery in connection with her 2021 lawsuit against Michael Malice. Those assertions further called plaintiff part of a modern-day crime family. These allegations all imply provably false assertions of fact. Plaintiff is either a criminal who has committed criminal acts or she is not. Similarly, plaintiff either harbors Nazi beliefs or she does not. She either works with the Duns to manufacture false allegations against Michael Malice or she did not. These are not generalized amorphic opinions about whether the anonymous posters like plaintiff. These statements create specific implications that can either be proven true or false. Okay, this is what I figured, because I was like, it has to probably count, right? Therefore, the court determines that it is reasonably probable that the plaintiff will prevail in demonstrating that the statements are more than unactionable opinions. Okay, makes sense. Conflating defendants. Freedman argues that the plaintiff's complaint conflates the actions of multiple defendants and fails to allege which defendant was responsible for which particular posting when those postings occurred or how they were disseminated. The court disagrees. The first amended complaint alleges the defendants, including Freedman, are co-conspirators engaged in smear campaigns together. The amended Jones complaint alleged that the evidence revealed during discovery connected the smear websites and social media accounts targeting Jones and Jones Works to other sites that appear to be authored by defendant Nathan's team and contractors, including defendant Jed Wallace. These websites followed a pattern highly suggestive of common authorship between the Jones websites and other websites identified in the amended complaint briefing. Expert testimony was used to identify this pattern, carefully linking the websites between each other and noting common authorship. Deposition testimony supported the connections between the websites. The evidence in the Jones case concerned websites primarily made after Ms. Nikolas's website was created. Without this evidence, the defendant's concealment efforts and identities would not have been revealed. Lookbackfraud.com is a website targeted at individuals who have allegedly falsely accused individuals in the entertainment industry of SA. The website identifies Ms. Nikolas as some sort of criminal participant, with California Attorney Joe Dunn as individuals bringing forward civil claims of SA. As stated above, defendant Freedman represented Ms. Nikolas' ex-husband when she brought claims of SA against him. Ms. Nikolas has not engaged in any sort of criminal activity with Joe Dunn, but the baseless accusation has followed her and eat predators for years. For example, the Jones websites target publicist Stephanie Jones and suggest she leaks client information. Bryan Freedman represents Justin Baldoni, who Jones is currently suing. Melissa Nathan also represents Mr. Baldoni. Another website, AmandaGhostSucks.com, horrifically accuses entertainment executive Amanda Ghost of being the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell. Interesting that the other website called her like Heidi Fleiss, which is, I guess, the same thing, but like it doesn't have the race, like kind of racist undertone to it, you know, to say Heidi Fleiss. Miss Ghost is in an ongoing litigation against Rebel Wilson that includes claims of defamation stemming from the smear campaigns, smear websites taken out against her. Miss Wilson is represented by Bryan Freedman and Melissa Nathan. She's not represented by Bryan Freedman anymore, I don't believe. I don't know if she's still with Melissa Nathan or not. Let's see. In that case, the overseeing judge just ordered a deposition of one of the defendants, Nathan's employees, Katie Case, as it appeared from her testimony that a relevant pattern and practice of creating websites at defendant Nathan's direction exists. Miss Nikolas's website was part of this pattern and practice. PaigeJimenez.com accuses Miss Jimenez, an influencer, of being connected to Matthew Perry's death. These allegations are not only preposterous, but inherently harmful and obviously designed to bury they're using the term bury here, Miss Jimenez. Upon information and belief, Miss Jimenez was targeted because she was simply dating one of defendant Freedman's client's sons, and they wanted the relationship to end. So emboldened by his ability to get away with threatening and smearing individuals in the past, defendant Freedman directly sent Miss Jimenez a copy of her website, cementing his connection to her site. The Jones motion, he did? Ugh. Oh, Freedman, that does not look good if you did. Because how would you find this really super obscure websites? That doesn't look good for Bryan to me. At least I got to think about that. The Jones motion to amend the complaint included an Exhibit A, an expert report by Bryan Horton of Breadcrumb Cybersecurity. This report indicates that evidence of common authorship exists between Miss Nikolas' site, pages mentioning the Alexander brothers and Jed Wallace. Previously, the Alexander brothers had retained defendant Melissa Nathan. Some of the Alexander brothers and Jed Wallace content appear to have common authorship with some of the Stephanie Jones content. The Jones content appears to have I don't want to say that. Sorry. I don't know if it's just the time of night. I'm a little they say it too much. Okay. Authorship evidence with Amanda Ghost content. There is a tangled web of connections between these sites and numerous others in addition to that authored about plaintiff. Elisa said it would be so disappointing if Freedman is a part of this. I mean, there's definitely like Freedman, Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace definitely like seem to have connections, like work together a lot, which there's nothing inherently suspicious about that. Sometimes when you find a good like business to work with, you tend to use them a lot. But some of these things don't look good for the three of them at all. You know what I'm saying? Garth Walker said, I don't believe Freedman was a part of this, but it's easy to blame him as the boogeyman for everything. Again, the only reason I don't think he's just being blamed as a boogeyman is because there are some physical evidence in the sense of like the recorded conversation between Jed Wallace and Melissa Nathan that brings up the Bryan and saying, yeah, and it gives you the impression even that it was Bryan Freedman that may have been the one to suggest that you can't just, it has to be like really a severe story. Because he just says he said. He doesn't say who he is. But then later on, the only other name he brings up that's a man is Bryan Freedman. And then obviously, if it's true that Freedman directly sent Miss Jimenez a copy of her website, that is an acknowledgement that Like, how did, I mean, I would have to see how he said that. Yeah, did he say he stumbled onto it? How did he present that website to her? Also, it is about establishing the pattern that every time Bryan Freedman has been involved with somebody, not every time, but like the times that he has been involved with somebody, and when Jed Wallace and Melissa Nathan have been involved, like it has led to potentially these websites. So Garth Walker said context is everything, which is what we are sadly lacking. This is true. I will say, though, as a pattern recognition person, like what breaks that pattern for them? You know what I mean? Like, if the pattern is every time, which again, it's not every time necessarily, but there's a set of people that have been Bryan Freedman's clients where he tends to bring in Melissa Nathan, who brings in Jed Wallace. And like, they tend to be, he's the lawyer and they're the PR people, so in some form or fashion. Now, obviously, it can't be always the case with Melissa Nathan. She only started her business in 2024. But they definitely talked as if they called themselves the Dream Team. Do you remember that? Like, Bryan Freedman, I mean, I know that Justin Baldoni talked to his editors about being a Dream Team, but Melissa Nathan, Jed Wallace, and Bryan Freedman, I forgot which one of them, refer to the three of them as a Dream Team as well. So it is going to, I mean, it's all circumstantial. There's nothing hard. There's no hard evidence at all. But, you know, again, unless they find something to prove that that's not the case, it's going to help whoever it is to say, hey, there's circumstantial evidence that shows that this is a pattern with the three of them. You know what I mean? So, as it says, the Jones content appears to have, I don't want to say, okay, there is a tangled web of connections between these sites and numerous others in addition to that authored about plaintiff. Thus, the court finds that the plaintiff alleges defendants were engaged in a conspiracy to smear various individuals, including plaintiff, each having an adversarial connection to one of Freedman's clients, which not only alleges a motive, but also suggests that Freedman was involved in directing or otherwise effectuating all of those alleged smear campaigns. That plaintiff does not allege which specific Doe defendants personally pressed the button to publish which specific defamatory articles is not fatal to plaintiff's claims, which otherwise adequately allege a conspiracy to defame various individuals. Kiara said, is this an appeal or the original lawsuit? You know, I can't recall. I would have to look. Because I do think she did try to appeal it in this, or I don't know if it was an appeal more than, it might have been. No, I think this is an amended complaint situation, I think, possibly, because the other one that did try to appeal was another lawsuit against Bryan Freedman by Travis Flores's husband. So I think it's not the original lawsuit, but it is, I think, the first amended complaint. Actual malice. So a limited purpose public figure must prove actual malice with respect to allegedly defamatory statements that relate to their role in the public controversy. As discussed above, plaintiff is a limited purpose public figure with respect to her advocacy works, speaking out against SA. As such, plaintiff must prove actual malice with respect to statements made relating to plaintiff's role in the public controversy. Freedman argues for the same reasons because plaintiff does not allege which defendant is alleged to have specifically done what, plaintiff cannot demonstrate actual malice. The court disagrees. The existence of actual malice turns on the defendant's subject belief as to the truthfulness of allegedly false statement. Actual malice may be proved by direct or circumstantial evidence. Okay, there you go. Actual malice may be proved by direct or circumstantial evidence. And I feel like what they have right now is circumstantial evidence. And I wasn't a fan when he said that him and that none of them were none of them had anything to do with Rebel Wilson, with the Amanda Ghost website. The minute they said that, like, that gets dicey for me, because we literally have them talking about stuff with the Rebel Wilson, like, website. So I've never felt completely comfortable. And how many times does that pattern have to exist before you're like, you know what I mean? So I think it's going to be dicey. It's going to be hard for them a little bit here. I mean, we'll see, though, when the evidence comes out, you know? As discussed above, plaintiff has adequately articulated a pattern of defendants conspiring together to push out and optimize online smear campaigns against individuals, primarily actresses, adversarial to Freedman's clients. As the plaintiff specifically, Freedman represented plaintiff's ex-husband in a lawsuit plaintiff initiated, accusing him of SA. Further, Freedman himself later faced protests and public backlash after plaintiff and her Eat Predators organization publicly protested Freedman and brought public attention to a prior case where he was accused of SA. The only thing that I have a hard time with is, like, are they, like, when is that decision made, if ever, to become a package deal? Because it's not like every time Bryan Freedman is a lawyer to somebody, or you would be finding it for every client, right? When you think about how many people Bryan Freedman has, has represented in the past, the amount of websites supposedly attached to him is very tiny, which, again, one is too many, but still, it's interesting, because then that says that the client is still determines really what is done and what is not done somehow or something. I don't know. Still, we need to see way more evidence. But for me, from where we sit right now, it doesn't look good for them. You know what I mean? But that can change very easily if there's evidence that just comes out. We're like, okay, so it was misrepresented. You know what I mean? In response, a series of optimized online postings following the same modus operandi and potentially having direct ties to other websites connected to defendants attacked plaintiff's motives and credibility in raising public awareness about SA in the entertainment industry. All of that suffices to demonstrate plaintiff has a probability of producing sufficient circumstantial evidence to establish actual malice. In reply, Freedman argues the plaintiff's evidence primarily consists of unproven allegations and therefore does not satisfy her burden of proving a probability of success on the merits. But the allegations of the FAC are reiterated and corroborated by plaintiff's own declaratory statements involving her own research and making the same connections between and among the various smear campaigns discussed. Further, the fact that an expert submitted an expert report detailing all these connections in the Jones case is some evidence the plaintiff will be able to submit a similar expert report in this action. In sum, the court finds that the plaintiff has met her burden of demonstrating a probability of succeeding on the merits to withstand Freedman's special motion to strike. So attorney's fees, a prevailing defendant on a special motion to strike shall be entitled to recover the defendant's attorney's fees and costs if the court finds that a special motion to strike is frivolous or is solely intended to cause unnecessary delay the court shall award costs and reasonable attorney's fees to a plaintiff prevailing in the motion pursuant to section 128.5. Here, because plaintiff does not prevail on his motion, the court denies his request for attorney's fees. So the conclusion and order, finding that plaintiff is a limited public interest figure and that the alleged statements arise in connection with her role in that public interest dialogue. I just realized this is not an appeal or the original lawsuit. This is Bryan Freedman's, like, I think, anti-SLAPP motion requesting for attorney's fees and such. Finding the plaintiff as a limited public interest figure and that the alleged statements arise in connection with her role in that public interest dialogue, but that plaintiff has established a probability of prevailing on the merits. The court denies Freedman's special motion to strike and request for attorney's fees in its entirety. The special motion to strike under CCP section 4.295.16 anti-SLAPP motion filed by Bryan Freedman on July 14, 2026 is denied. And then the certificate of service is attached. Okay. Well, that's going to be an interesting case to continue to follow. Y'all, that was user error on my part. I don't know what happened. I think I accidentally clicked something. But it doesn't matter. I was going to say goodbye anyway, but yeah, so this is going to be an interesting case. This might be something worth following. It's going to be interesting with Jones versus Abel. And I like I said, there is a very big difference to me, at least in my brain, in regards to like the Justin Baldoni, the Blake Lively versus the Wayfarer case versus what Freedman, Melissa, and Jed are accused of in other cases. Do I think the purpose and desire is to give the impression that because if they end up being proven to have engaged in this activity, will it look poorly on Justin and Wayfarer? Yes, it will. There's no, it will. However, it doesn't change the fact that there really is genuinely far more evidence coming from Justin Baldoni that this was just not what happened in their case. And the fact that Bryan Freedman has represented way more people in their thing is like there's 5 websites or 5 things of smear campaigns alleged with them. That still tells me that there's something about the client itself that determines what happens, and how Bryan Freedman and Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace are involved, which we still don't know what that is. We still don't know what that is. But is there an anticipation that if there's like things that don't look well in this Jones versus Abel case or this case or that case or the third, that you're going to see Blake Stans come in and try to rehash the Lively versus Wayfarer case and try to push like whatever happened in other cases somehow to be true of the Lively versus Wayfarer case? Yeah, I anticipate that. But I just definitely think that we always have to look at every case. We always have to look at every case for their own merits. But I understand, though, why it can do damage. As a pattern recognition person, that's always going to bother somebody. Like, oh, you're telling me like they would do it here but not do it there. Well, I mean, I think the amount of people that Bryan has represented and it doesn't happen every time says that that's not like there is a difference. So what is that difference? You know what I mean? Elisa said, yeah, this is interesting. Thank you, Bocce. And look at Blake's lawyers getting away with sham lawsuits. I wouldn't be surprised if her lawyers are running a smear campaign on Freedman. I mean, they definitely do not like Freedman. And that's a great point. But the thing is, it's one thing for them to try to run a smear campaign on Freedman. It's another thing for me to grapple with some of the available evidence that we have so far of certain conversations. And that's why I feel like my discomfort is saying, like, we have nothing involved. We're not involved. We were not involved at all in those websites, but you have like recordings and whatnot, or at least one recording, right? Let me see if I could find the smear website that was done on Bryan Freedman. I said I was going to say goodbye, and then I'm like, and one more thing, which is always like the story of my life. Let me see if I could find it. Where is it? Okay, it was called whoisbryanfreedman.com. Oh, the website no longer exists. So whoever created it took it down already. Yeah. Yep, it doesn't exist anymore. Did anybody take... I don't know if anybody took a screenshot of the actual... Yeah, I don't know if anybody took a screenshot of the actual thing. Anyways, never mind. I was hoping to see it. All right. What did I do again? What did I do? Am I still live? Am I just tired? Yeah, this says share screen. How did I mess up the screen here? Now I don't even know how to exit, even if I wanted to exit here. What in the what? No, I don't know that. What in the... Y'alls, I don't... I think I'm tired because I'm like, how do I get out of here? I'm going to try to... Okay, for reals. The fact that I've done something twice already, that's saying it's too late. Go to sleep. You're exhausted. So good night for reals. Bye. Bye-bye.